Well, hello, boys and girls. This is fourth grade Excel lesson number 85. We're going to be looking at decimal numbers today, recognizing tenths and hundredths. Look right here. Notice that TH. These are not tens and hundreds, but tenths and hundredths. So up to now, we have been working with the places to the left of the decimal point. Here's the decimal point. We've only been working with numbers that go this way: ones, tens, hundreds, and so on. You guys can go past that, of course. Today's lesson deals with places to the right of the decimal point. So here's the decimal point in a number. It's just a little dot, and we're going to go to the right of the decimal point. Now, there is a pattern here. If you look to the left of the decimal point, you can see the word ones, right? This is the ones place. If we go to the next place, it's called the tens place. And tens is on the left side and tenths is on the right side. Now, why is there no oneths? I'll explain that to you in a minute. And then the next place after the tenths is, or the tens, is the hundreds. And then the next place to the right of the tenths is the hundredths. It's got the TH in there. So notice that this word and this word are pretty much the same, and this word and this word are pretty much the same, other than we add in a TH. Now, what does this actually mean? Let me show you here. I'm going to move this down. So the decimal points here, the next place and the next place is called the tenths with a TH, and the hundredths with a TH. What this means is like a fraction. 1/10 or 2/10, whatever number is in here is the numerator in your fraction with a 10 as the denominator. So these are all tenths right here. And then these are all hundredths. So that would look like 4 hundredths, right? So if we had a 4 there and say a 2 here, this is 2/10, and this is 4 hundredths. Well, why is there no oneths? Here's why there's no oneths. If you put a 1 on the bottom of a fraction, that's a whole number. That's the ones place. So 6 over 1 means 6 wholes or 6 ones, and that belongs right here, the ones place. So there is no such thing as the oneths place. You'll understand that a little bit better as we go through and learn all about decimals. So here we go. The number 1.37 or 1 37 hundredths is modeled below by the shaded area. The 1 square on the left is 1 whole. So this is related to that right there. Notice the decimal point. That's 1 whole, just like you've always done for several years now. And then 0.37, the 3 is in the tenths place, and that would look like this on a model. So this is 1 whole, just like that's 1 whole. It's divided up into 10 little parts, and 3 of the parts are shaded in. 3 out of 10, which is 3/10, all right? And then 7 hundredths, the next number, next digit, is over here, and you can see that the 1 whole has been divided into 100 little teeny tiny squares. Each one of these strips has been cut into 10 little parts, and so this is considered to be hundredths, and 7 of them are shaded in right there. All right. The 3 and 7 can also be called 37 hundredths. This is like what you learned with the places to the left of the decimal. The number 24 can be thought of as 2 tens and 4 ones, or as 24 ones, right? If you have 24 single items, you have 24 ones, or 24. Another way of thinking of it, some of you might know this. This is 1,000. We can call that by the place value. 500, or we could just call it 1,500. Just like this could be called 37 hundredths. All right, the places to the right of the decimal represent parts of whole numbers. Can you see how dimes and pennies relate to the decimal places? So let's take a look at this one up here, the one we just did, dimes and pennies. 1.37, or 1 37 hundredths, can be related to money, because that would be like 3 dimes. This would be dimes, right? You take a dollar, you cut it up into 10 pieces, and each piece is a dime. Each piece is 10 cents. And so this is 3 tenths right there, 3 dimes. The 7 would be like pennies. 7 pennies, 7 out of 100, 7 hundredths. Or you can think of this as being 37 pennies. All right, write each of these mixed numbers as decimal numbers. So 3 4 tenths is written as 3.4, or 3 4 tenths. You say it the same way. 1 24 hundredths is 1.24, or 1 24 hundredths. 2 7 hundredths, this is a little trickier, is 2.07. You got to put that 0 in there, because otherwise it's going to be 2 7 tenths. You got to move that 7 over to the hundredths place. So you put the 0 in there to sandwich in between the 2 digits, and that way it holds that empty tenths place. Here is 3 50 hundredths, 3 50 hundredths. And you might notice it's the same thing as 3 5 tenths. And think about money again. If you have 50 cents out of 100, it's the same thing as 5 dimes out of 100. 3 5 dimes, 3.5, 3 5 tenths. All right, here's 2 3 tenths. Pause the video and see if you can get that correct answer before I show you. All right, you should have already done this problem and written 2.3. Go ahead and pause the video and go all the way down to number 8 there. All right, so number 6 is 3.7, 3 7 tenths. Number 4 is 4.30, or 4 30 hundredths. Number 8 is 1 6 hundredths. Watch out on this one. It's 1 6 hundredths. 1.06, because this is 6 out of 100, not 6 out of 10. 6 hundredths. All right, fix any answers that you have wrong. And now we're going to go the other direction. So 4.25 is 4 25 hundredths. 2.05, 2 5 hundredths, has to be written like that, not 2 5 tenths. 3.9, now that is tenths. 3.9 is 3 9 tenths. There you have 3 9 tenths. And this has no whole number. It's not like 6.4 or 2.4. It's just 0.4. So it's just 4 tenths without a whole number. All right, you try to write number 13. Why don't you go ahead and do up to 16? Pause the video, turn it back on after you have those answers. So 7 hundredths is the way you say that one, 7 out of 100. You should have written that, not 7 tenths. 7 tenths would be 0.7. 2.8 is 2 8 tenths, because we only have one number after the decimal point. That's the tenths place. 8 36 hundredths, you got to write a big 8. Make sure your whole numbers are like twice as big as the numbers in the fraction. And then 36 hundredths. Notice how the 8 stands up tall compared to the fraction there. That's how you should write those. And then 2.80, you can write 2 80 hundredths, or if you want to write that as 2 8, no decimal point, 2 8 tenths, you can do that as well. All right, now we're going to take the words and make them into decimals here. So 126. Notice that the word and means decimal point. So when you see and, boom, that's where the decimal point goes. 126 and 5 tenths. Here's 126, and then there's 5 tenths after the decimal. Try number 18. Pause the video and then turn it back on. 205 and 16 hundredths. So before the decimal, you write 5, and means decimal point. 16 hundredths, there you go, 16 hundredths. Okay, these next have the digits just all mixed up. We have 3 tens, we have 100, We don't have any ones. So I'm going to put a 0 there. And then this says 200ths, which means we have no tenths. 200ths. All right, pause the video. And why don't you try, go ahead and do all the way down to 22 and then turn it back on. 100 and 500ths. Here's 100 and here's 500ths. 186 is before the word and. 186 and 92 hundredths. So I got to put 0.92. That's 92 hundredths. 2 tenths. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go out of order. I'm going to look for the hundreds place first because it doesn't look like we're going past hundreds. And I see hundreds right there. 300s. Now I'm going to look for the tens. I don't see any tens in there, so I'm going to put a 0. Now I'm going to look for the ones. Oh, I do see ones right there, and I'm going to cross these out as I go. I can't even read that anymore. Is that 4? Uh-oh. Better get that out of there. I'm going to use my eraser. Yeah, that's a 4. Okay, woo. Okay, so I got 4 ones, and then how many tenths? Oh, cross that out. And then how many tenths? Right there, 2 tenths. And how many hundredths? Right there, 100th. All right, there it is. Now we're going to write the words. Oh, my goodness. This is 124. Say and for the decimal. 7 hundredths. 124 and 7 hundredths. Don't forget that TH. All right, pause the video. Do the last 4 and then turn it back on when you're ready for the solutions. So the first one is 307. Just like back in the old days. Just read the number and write the number. 307. I don't know if I'm going to fit this right with my big old finger. And, remember, and means decimal. 1, you can't write the number 1. You can't write it like that. You have to write O-N-E. 1/10. Okay. Don't write tenths. It's 1/10. 511. Hopefully your writing is neater than mine. Ew. 511. I'm writing with my finger. And 6 tenths or 60 hundredths. I'm going to write it the way you see it, which is 60 hundredths. Uh-oh, I'm going to run out of room. Woo! Okay, you should write smaller and neater than me, that's for sure. 140. Oh my goodness, this is disgusting. And 8 tenths. E-I-G-H-T. Tenths. Oh, it's getting a little better. Okay, then on this one we have 100. And after the decimal is the number 48. So I'm going to write 48. And that's 48 hundredths. Now, I'm going to run out of room. And it should look like that on the end. T-H-S. All right. Hopefully you got all those right. And let me know if you need some help. Have a good day, everybody.